Hello, and in this video I'm building Shibuya Crossing, which is a very famous crossing next to Shibuya Station in Japan, in the city of Tokyo. Now obviously I'm butchering that pronunciation. I don't really know how to say it, I just googled it and that's what Google told me how to say it. So I'll be off by a lot, but that's my best attempt. So this crossing is a very famous one in Tokyo, and it's got the famous zebra crossing or pedestrian crossing that goes right through the middle, and you will have seen loads of pictures and images of this crossing. Now, for those of you who watch Skib or Skibbeth, his videos, you may have noticed that he built one very similar to this. Now, I originally was going to build a Japanese style station, which I still might in the future. The inspiration to build it, it was very difficult and I didn't really want to, so I just stopped and then ended up making this junction. But I was just thinking of famous like Japanese junctions. I thought the one with the zebra crossing that goes through the middle. And Skib had recently posted a couple images of his crossing design, and I didn't really even I looked at them a couple hours before, but obviously I did it and then I built this. And his is a less rigid take on what it is. His is a more off the cuff, what he imagined from his imagination. This is a more recreation. And I've talked to him and he's fine with me making this, obviously. But it was a bit of a coincidence that we both pretty much built the same thing on similar days. And I was going to release this a bit earlier, but I just haven't had the time. So I think he released it like a couple days ago when this goes live. There you go. So I'm obviously not using my original collection here. I'm using a different collection. I'm using Yuto's Osaka collection because it's a great collection. It has loads of Japanese style things and buildings and ground decals. And if you're looking to make a Japanese city, I would go with his collection. And obviously watch all his videos, but if you watch my videos you probably know who Yuto is, so if you don't, his link's in the description. Also Skib's link to his channel is in the description as well. So here in the video I'm placing the crossings. I'm using Avanya's decals for this because the normal road decals for crossings are a bit rubbish. kind of a bit small for what I needed here. And obviously they're a bit angled, so I have to use the decals in a bit of a different way and like double them up, and then you get like half sizes, so you can make it on a slight angle. But I do end up changing this sort of design here because the middle one wasn't working correctly, because the pedestrian crossing doesn't go at that angle. But we'll get to that in a second, because right now I'm placing the pedestrian tactile pavements, which are all over the place in Japan and most major cities as well, but Japan has a large amount of tactile paving pretty much everywhere, which is obviously for blind or partially sighted people to help them get around the city. It's placed on the curves of crossings, and like coming out of stations, sometimes they'll have a tactile pavement which leads you the way to a crossing. So that's what all this yellow stuff is around all these crossings here. Now I actually do a timed traffic light on this. I don't show any of the process of making it because I'm terrible at doing timed traffic lights. I'm still thinking about doing that timed traffic light tutorial, but since I'm not very good at it, it seems a bit pointless. But maybe, we'll see. I don't know. But I did work out that you could get pedestrians to cross at at certain times, and that is why the traffic sometimes goes dead in the cinematics. It's a bit strange. But I also could have done the time traffic lights better, because looking back at the cinematics, there's a lot of dead space and a lot of weird ways the traffic behaves. So I look forward to all the comments of people saying that was a terribly timed traffic light. I know it was. I fully admit that it was absolutely terrible, but it's just what I did. Also, you may have noticed in the cinematics that procedural objects was up in the corner. I had a big amount of trouble with procedural objects because I was using a different collection. Something was messing with it, and I couldn't close procedural objects down. There must have been a the little box in the right corner. I couldn't close it down. There must have been a conflict with one of the other mods that used the key bindings, so I couldn't turn it off. Sorry for that. It is annoying, and for the next video, it won't be there, whenever the next video is. It won't be there, hopefully, because I won't be using this different collection. So as you see, I've placed a ton of Japanese style buildings with the big billboards on the side, and I've placed this center kiosk thing, which in real life is a it looks like shops basically. So pretty much what I've gone for here. In the end I place vending machines around it, because Japan's very big on vending machines. So I place a ton of those, and I try and place as many billboards and stuff as I can, but it gets very tedious placing billboards. I probably should have placed a lot more and done a couple night shots, but I didn't. I would have loved to, now thinking back on it, but I just did a couple daytime shots and stuff like that, and there's some more cinematics at the end to more show off this junction. So as you can see, I'm placing a ton of the yellow tactile pavement all over the place, guiding people around, guiding people to the curbs, guiding people to the train station, to the information desks, to the bus stops, because in real life there are a load more bus stops. I placed, I think in the end, 2 bus stops, as you can see, but in real life I believe there's, it looks like from the image, at least 6 bus stops around the place. but I place a couple, and I couldn't get buses to work really, because I have a very strange bug where they don't spawn if I've had the game open for ages. So I didn't get any to spawn, I'm afraid. But I got a load of traffic to go through. So, as you saw at the beginning, I used the pedestrian roads to sort of make the junction a tiny bit bigger than it is without those roads, because they obviously expand it because they turn into a junction themselves. I wanted to cover up the corners. So in real life there are no planters here, but it just was maybe one of the only ways I could cover up. Maybe I could have used ploppable pavement, but it did also just make it a lot more green, a lot more lush in this area. As I say, I stick one on the opposite side of the road as well, just to make it look very similar, and raise this curb a bit up so that it covers the ugliness of the planters, which I believe are called mulch something. They're not called mulch planters, they're called mulch something. Because when you search planters you can't find them, so you have to search mulch, and they're by King Leno. Makes great planters and mulch, whatever they're called. Now I'm going around placing a ton of railings around the place, keeping the people separated from the cars. In this area of Tokyo, they had a ton of railings, pretty much next to the road, all over the place, I guess to prevent cars from hitting people. These are the black UK railings, I believe. They look very similar to the Japanese style, and railings are pretty much very similar around the world for this sort of thing. Oh, and I completely forgot. You may have been wondering how I got all the people to stand around in the plazas. What I used was the events, like ploppable thing where you plop it down and it draws a quite large amount of people. Because is it people park generators? They were the old way of getting people, but you could only get 18, I believe was the max. But an event like generator draws in a large amount. It's probably upwards of 100 people can get drawn to the event. But since this game, you can never seem to get a large amount, because people park generator only seems to get like 5. So at this you get maybe 20 to 30, which is quite a good amount. So if you spam them down, you get a large amount of people in the area. They're not moving as much as obviously they would in real life, but in some of the sped up shots you can see that there is a lot of movement within the build itself. Now I felt that the concrete was very boring, and I wanted to use decals, but obviously I'd already used the yellow decals for the tactile paving, so I had to go around with these beard monkey decals and just place them around the tactile paving, which was tedious, but in the end looked very nice. It fit in, and the decal that I used was a bit worn and a bit old, and it looked very nice. It fit the area. It looks similar to the in real life version. So that's pretty much it for this build. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.